Tales of consciousness. Like when you read about the myth of the burning bush or Jesus walking on the water and all this, it's like if you take that literally, that's one side of the test that you're on. If you understand that it has deeper meaning and multiple levels of deeper meaning, where consciousness is high enough to be aware of that, you're moving on in evolution.
The leveling up.
Right.
That one day you hear it and you hear it again and again, and also you hear it differently. You're like, whoa. That's pretty cool. How your awareness shifts every decade. It's like,
It's getting faster and faster exponentially.
It's exciting.
Exactly, and that's what we're here to talk about, right, Nettie?
Yep. All right, I think we're now recording. So we're writing up webcams.
You guys know how to edit, right?
It's called backup.
Okay. I'm really good at editing in case you want to get this.
Really? Awesome. Well, his brother actually does editing for a living.
Great.
So he's going to be editing the very first video from 2 weekends ago.
Oh, nice. Edit all this out of this one, so
Yeah, exactly. So, do you have your notes? Your laptop?
I do. But I think I'm good.
How's
You're
the
good
light?
now?
How's the lighting on the cameras? Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool.
Yeah, this light seems to be working. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming today. We appreciate you being here and joining us for our Conscious Conversations event, talking about the rise in consciousness and the coming shift. So we were hoping to have a few more people here so that we could have a more involved conversation, but I'm sure we will have plenty to say between the people that are here. So it is as it's meant to be, right? So I'm Lynette Ferguson, and I am Ray's partner, and he is my partner. And we are, I'm pinch hitting for Grace, because usually Grace is in this seat and helping to facilitate these conversations with Ray, but she's out of town right now, so I'm going to be helping to facilitate. Do you want to introduce yourself?
How about you say a little bit about yourself first? You don't know who you are.
So
What you're about.
I'm a health coach on the side. I do organizational change management for a living during the day. So I am very much focused on the here and now. I'm a generator, 2-4 generator in the human design profile. So 2-4s are all about the here, basically the physical, right? So Z, you're also a 2-4. You hear that. So Ray handles all of the ethereal, stuff, and I keep him present and grounded.
Yes, and I am Ray of Sunshine, and I am a 5-1 splenic projector within human design, for anyone who's familiar with human design. And I have been focused in this space of consciousness for at least 25 years now. Pretty much my whole life, really, but I didn't realize it when I was younger. I had intuitive knowings, but I didn't know what they meant or where they came from or why. And then I started formulating that as I became exposed to different spiritual teachers over the years. When I first started really getting into this and exploring it, like 25 years ago, it was a very, very foreign concept to anybody that I spoke to. And being a 5-1 within human design, that's a heretical investigator, so everything means different. So I was speaking my heresy to the world, and most people didn't like that because it challenged them. People generally don't like being challenged. And so I had a challenging time myself fitting in. And being a projector, which is only roughly 20% of the population, most people are like everyone here except for Ashton, who's a manifestor. Everyone else here is a form of a generator. That's the majority of the world. And projectors are very different from you guys, so I had a challenging time fitting in wherever I went, whatever I did. Until eventually I just learned that there was nothing wrong with me, I'm just different than other people. Once I learned that back in 97, when I read a book called Who Are You Really by Dr. Gary Null. And it laid out the life energies concept, which there are 7 branches of life energies. And it made perfect sense to me. And I fell in the branch that was part of the minority. Most people were what he calls adaptive supporters. I'm a dynamic supporter, which is very different. We're only about 10% of the population, according to his concept. And that was like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders because I realized that I chose something different. That's all. Russell can relate to being different. And so can Alethea, I think, relate to being different as well. Because we tend to challenge concepts and ideas. We question things, especially the radical investigator, because that's what I do. I'm always seeking the truth. Investigators are here to find the truth. I don't care if I'm right or wrong, that's irrelevant to me. What matters to me is what is the truth. Yeah, so throughout the years, eventually I came across human design, and that's what really lit me up and made me realize who I really am, what my true purpose is. And I love within human design the incarnation cross of the life theme. My particular one is the interpersonal theme of uncertainty, or the left angle cross of uncertainty. And I was just reading it to Lena today, and it just described me perfectly. That's why, even before I learned about that, I've always thought of myself and called myself a ray of sunshine. But in my life purpose, it says that I bring light to darkness. That's the sunshine. I mean, that's part of it. It's more to it than just that, but that was part of it. But yeah, so and it led me to this journey, and now here we are in Austin. I mean, I'm originally from New York City, for whoever's watching this video. I'm originally from New York City, and I came down here 5 years ago. I came to Texas 6 years ago. I was in the Louisville, in the Dallas area, and didn't really resonate so much with that area. Came down to visit Austin. I said, yep, this is my place, this is my people. I came down here, moved down here, met up with this lovely lady over here at my first meetup ever, and it was a vegan-vegetarian meetup. And we're no longer that anymore, but we were at the time, and that's where we met, and we pretty much been together ever since. And she helped me in my journey tremendously. Becoming a life coach, getting my certification in coaching, and really, really focusing and narrowing down what my purpose is in my path. And ever since then, that's pretty much what I've been focusing on. And just really enjoying and like really self-exploration and working with her and with Grace, our great friend and my business partner, who is a 2-5 manifesting generator. So for all the people that don't know about human design, projectors lack a key element, or they don't lack, but we benefit from being around generators because generators have the sacral motor, or the sacral sensor, which is a motor, the primary motor within human design, within life. It's what brings, for people who are familiar with the chakras, it's very similar. It's where sexuality resides, creativity, and energy, among other things. And the projectors benefit from being around generators because we can tap into that in our open sensor, and so can manifestors as well, which Ashton's a manifestor, has that sensor open as well. So he and I benefit from being around generators. We ride off of that energy, that energy source. So once I connected with Lynette, because prior to being with Lynette, I was pretty much by myself for 10 years, maybe more than that, lived by myself. Just learning about myself a lot, being introspective and focusing on myself. But once I had a tough time getting myself going usually. Even though I do have 2 of the 4 motors within human design, I eventually connected with the sacral motor through Lynette, and then eventually Grace. Grace and I have been working together to build a program to help people awaken and discover who they are. So that's a little bit about myself.
Which is also part of your incarnation book. Right?
Yes, exactly. So that's a little bit about myself, and now what we're here today is...
you want to have a...
Yeah, why don't everybody introduce themselves?
So first, let's go with...
The ladies first.
Okay, I was gonna have you
Oh,
go
okay.
because this is your
Oh,
place.
because it's our space. Well, I
Yes.
don't want to be special, but I will today. It's okay. Yes, it is our space. We're hosting all of us today. My name is Russell von Olhausen, and I guess I describe myself as a consciousness catalyzer. Also an astrologer, an astrological researcher. I teach astrology, metaphysics, and science around the globe. So yeah, I get to travel and do fun stuff and talk about all this everywhere. So it's wonderful. I speak a slightly different language than human design, but they are, as you know, interrelated. So being an astrologer, well, first of all, since I've met you guys, I've actually been able to remember that I'm a 4/6. And I'm a generator, and so I kind of have embedded that in there since I have to bring this up from time to time. And some of my close friends also are human design workers, but coming from an astrological point of view, which I will be probably one to bring that language into this dialogue, I am a Cancer sun with Sagittarius ascendant, and I have a Taurus moon. Mercury in Gemini, which makes me very talkative, and Uranus at exact midheaven to the Archimedes, for those of you who know what that is, and that means I'm a heretic like you, basically. Yeah, I'm here to change the dynamic of our reality and help facilitate this new paradigm. So, you're here today, we're all here today at LotusBend, which is sort of my creation. When I was working with medicine work about 10 years ago, I got a download that I wanted to create a facility to do consciousness raising and also working with the medicines as well. So we managed to manifest that, just being open to being instruments of God consciousness. That is something that, once you come online with that, you just step back and you let be, you let it happen. And through my own processes, I've allowed that to occur. My journey started, way back like yours as well. I was less and less conscious, let's say. I've evolved since I was a bit younger. For those watching, who know me since my younger days. But the one element that really was missing back when I was studying all of the heady stuff, all of the science, the mathematics, the quantum mechanics, the spiritual modalities, the religions, the philosophies, which I, as a Sag ascendant, I indulged in everywhere around the globe. I even when I lived briefly in Tibet, which, that was about as extreme as you can get. When you're on a conscious seeking path, we had to go and do that. But the one element that I was missing was this connection to the above, as above, so below. And through the process of taking on more of the occult alchemy, I went into astrology, which eventually led, about 20-something years ago, led me into at least seeing what was working behind the scenes with human design and other archetypal systems that help people find these paths and help people describe what's happening in their lives. And it starts to make sense when you understand something along this line. So once I began to understand a little bit more about myself, I realized I wasn't the only guilty one. The God consciousness is playing a part in what we're doing. It's like, I'm not so much to blame for my whole life. I'm part of something bigger. And once you begin to see that you're part of something bigger, it becomes, I guess, to me, a little more activating, a little more fun, a little more lively, because it brings that elixir of life to you every day. So anyway, that's a little bit what I'm about, and welcome to LotusBend, our little 7-acre retreat here that's holding space for doing the work. So.
Thank you, Russell.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. It's awesome. So, moving over here.
Okay, I'm Alethea. I'm a 6/2 generator. I am currently, I did look at my sun sign. So, Scorpio, Sun, Pisces, Moon.
Potent water signs.
But I'm here because I'm actually starting to partner up with Ray, Grace, and Lynette as a part of our movement to the new paradigm. Because for me, I'm still a student. I'm still learning, but I'm also a very action-oriented person. And one thing I wanted to do is, as I become more aware and more awake to the listens and to downloads, and I'm finding so much more inner peace and inner strength and just happiness. I'm like, gosh, I'm gonna sprinkle this on the world like glitter. I was like, how do I do that? I've got to facilitate this for other people as I'm doing it for myself so that I can share. And ironically, Z and I were talking about purchasing 50 acres and facilitating for other practitioners who are, you know, and they're all their different modalities, all the different practices, as long as we all have the goal of coming back to self and finding our inner core and our consciousness and conscious connection to everything, to source energy, and so that we can live in our highest potential. And then when you're at that state of being, you're just going to share that energy and pass it around, and it's just going to be an evolution. And I'm just here as a facilitator in life, and that's all I got to say right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Marina, I'm by Z, and I feel like a child in this awakening because I wasn't aware of all these modalities, of all these opportunities that are out there for us. So I feel like I'm just right now just like a toddler in a sense, because everything goes together, but it's separate, but it's like just like taking it all in. So I'm just excited. But and for me, it's spreading love. Yeah, that's what I'm here to do. That's more love
And connect
Yes.
with other like-minded people.
Yes. And I'm a manifesting generator. 2/4.
Yes.
My sun sign is a Pisces, and my moon is Scorpio. So we're dualities. Yeah, definitely a duality.
Wow.
I love the fact
That's
that our
awesome.
strengths and our weaknesses, we kind of like we're helpful for each other. I would say.
That's incredible, yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming. All right, so let's get started. So the reason we are here today is to talk about this rise in consciousness and the coming shift. And one of the things that has come to our awareness, you know, while each of us has been kind of on this journey for a while, some of us anyway, I know Z, you're kind of new to all of this. I know for myself, you know, I started coming into this like a long time ago, you know, at least 25, 30 years ago, but not like really intently until like 2005, somewhere in that time frame. And when I read The Power of Now, it really just opened my eyes to what it would be like to not suffer with all of these things, you know, whether it's codependency and attachment and just all these things that we just learn through our conditioning and programming that impacts how we live our lives. And so it's ironic that, you know, I ended up partnering with Ray 5 years ago, and that's what he's all about, is these, you know, he calls them new paradigm principles. You know, I say it's basically Buddhism in another flavor. It's the same concepts, you know, he just calls them new paradigm principles. That's, you know, and it's stuff that he's learned along the way as well, and through various teachers and so on and so forth. And now he's, you know, made it his, and he's, you know, spreading the word and helping to bring people along the journey. I mean, that's why he's here as a guide to the generators to bring us along, right, and to awaken us and to help us to remove those blocks that are keeping us stuck. And he's a very excellent coach. And so if you ever get a chance to work with Ray, he's amazing. So one of the things that Ray has come across as far as concepts is the concept of purity waves, and I know that you have a lot to say about that. Is there anything else you wanted to start with before you get into purity waves?
No, that sounds like a good starting point. Mainstream science lost me a long time ago when I found out how corrupt it can be. But even now, even they now at this point are acknowledging that there are energies coming in from space that are different than we've ever seen before. And so from my perspective, what I've been learning is that these energy waves are I didn't coin the term purity waves. I learned that from one of my teachers, my spiritual teachers. But they're essentially coming through our planet. I mean, they're going through the entire universe from our understanding. But obviously we're concerned with our little corner of the universe here on Earth, and it's coming through our planet and essentially purifying the consciousness that we have here. And the purity waves, from my understanding, are accelerating our progression in whatever direction that we're going. If we happen to be going forward or progressing forward, that's where it's going to push us. If we happen to be going in a distorted direction, people might view that as backwards, it's going to push you in that direction as well. So from my understanding, these waves are going to accelerate the crumbling of the empire. From my perspective, one of the reasons why someone like Trump is in the presidency is to help facilitate the crumbling of the empire, whether he realizes it or not, because he's a direct disruptor. Someone who's different than, he's not a politician, let's put it that way. And so these purity waves are really pushing things forward, and I'm feeling the sense of urgency, especially now, that to get out there and really spread the word, to help awaken people and bring awareness around what's coming and where they want to be, where they want to go, and how to get there, and how to handle these changes that are coming into place. From my understanding, the purity waves are peaking now at this point, like towards the end of this year, like now to the end of the year. So we're going to, from what I'm hearing, we're going to see a lot of dramatic changes coming in the next 6 months or so. So that's why I want to do this, why we decided to do this event, this talk, so we can share what we have to say about this. Each of us has something to say about it, I'm sure. That's why we call it conscious conversations. It's not just about one person or even two people, it's about the group. So yeah, the purity waves are coming through, and they're just accelerating things, making things move faster. And I'm feeling that urgency. I can actually feel it within my body and my energy patterns. I can feel it's just like pushing me in a sense. You've got to get this done. You've got to start moving. I keep hearing this in my head. I have within human design, I've got the spleen center defined, which means I have an instant knowing. That's my authority, and that's how I make decisions, and that's how I learn things, or rather, that's how I know things. And I just get these thoughts in my head that keep telling me, get out there and spread the word, and let people know what's happening. Being a projector, my purpose is to guide the energy of generators, which is the majority of the world. So that's my perspective on the purity waves. There's lots of things going on. I mean, what have you guys noticed as far as things going on around the world that kind of tell you that there's a real change coming in place?
Well, for me, I mean, I've noticed it because I also have the knowing in me. That's something I've always had as a child, an awareness, and I've always had lessons inside my head that would explain things to me that I didn't need a book. And I'd be able to regurgitate it, and then I'd find out that it was true. So one thing I've noticed in the last several years, I started noticing massive changes. For me, it started showing up around 2012, because that's when my other listening opened up. That's when I was able to actually hear other messages again, and I started listening to all this information that was coming at me from different places, different people, and there was like a connection of information. I was like, oh my gosh, time is moving faster. I feel it. The hours are smaller now. And when we're kids, we always hear, oh, this year went by so fast, this year went by so fast, and then yet, it's going faster, faster, faster. So I said, is time really going faster? And I'm like, yes, it is. And so I started researching it, and I realized that the Schumann's resonance is off, and our days are smaller. Our days are like 16-hour days, I think 16-hour days now versus the 24-hour days that we believe it to be. because it's no longer linear. I've also noticed time is not moving linear for me, and that's how it shows up for me. Like the past and the present and the future, they keep weaving in and out, and there's a new movement, there's a new wave. And also, when I talk to people, when I speak, I feel the vibration of intention coming out of my voice. And I feel it, and I connect with other people when I talk, and I know that I have to give all these messages out. When I share it, they're like, oh, I was just thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, because it's time. It's time to wake up. It's time to come back. Because we're already here, we've been here over and over and over again, and we're coming back again. And now it's time to get the chains off you, and just stop being afraid, and stop wondering why you're depressed. Stop wondering why you're scared. Your instrument is out of tune, and you gotta tune it back to the vibration and the frequency of love and compassion and source energy. Because you're gonna go home the wrong way, painfully, or you can go home and say, and continue to flow with the rhythm of the cosmos, the way you're meant to, as a starseed, as an earth child, as God, as one. So that's how it's shown up for me.
Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Something to add? What about you? I know you got a lot to say.
I got a lot to say, so I got to contain it. But one of the things that my two focuses really are on science. To see an awakening, a reawakening in science. There's the stubborn elements of science that don't want to accept any of these, connections to consciousness and how matter and consciousness relate. And there are, but yet it is filtering through. It's coming into the dialogue more and more. It's undeniable. So that is my playground, more or less. But something that I think that's more obvious. Oh, it's raining outside. Yeah. So one of the things that's more obvious to me is the what's happening inside of this purity wave. You refer to it as it intersects with matter again in human consciousness. Is that it's reuniting the masculine and the feminine. The sexuality is starting to get away from one or the other and to unify into the divine energon again. And that is part of the Hermetic principles of rising in consciousness that's taking place. And part of that has to do with the fact that we are boundless beings connected to the boundless God, boundless Godhead. And it has no polarity there. So you see that in our culture rising over the last 15, 20 years. The owner of this property, a dear friend of mine, he's Alfonso Hayek. He's looks like Gandhi in that he's a gay fellow, has been since birth, known it since birth, never actually been with a woman ever. But I remember early conversations with him 20 years ago. He was a little bit fear-based that the world would never change, the world would never shift. And none of the politics would get on board with this, and it just wasn't ready and whatever. And I said, watch what happens. Watch this shift happening. And then little things, like you start seeing more in the culture arise around entertainment. You see, and I think it was shortly after that, like Queer Eye for the Straight came out, and then those other shows started to integrate, and then it just became more and more involved in the culture. Now it's in the last 20 years. It actually is just commonplace, at least among the Western culture. It's not. There are, of course, places that are not willing to accept this, but the fact that in our sexual nature, you see this unification of consciousness coming from the left and the right that are merging into the center again. It's like I said, it's undeniable, and I think that. It's not just undeniable in the way that we are expressing it in our psyche and the culture, but when you look at it scientifically, we start to see genetic changes where the chromosomes are doing the same thing. The molecules are doing the same thing that we're talking about on a human level. The energy is shifting at a particle level, and it's affecting us from that level on up. and the behavior, all of this is about light, by the way. Speaking of enlightenment, is why we're all here. So the behaviors of light particles that are taking, the changes that are taking place at that level are enlightening us. You know, they are the behaviors of light, re-emerging into this, literally the rainbow, you know, finding itself in darkness, back into the rainbow. So seeing that occur in places around the planet and watching that shift culturally has been an amazing, just dynamic view for me to have over the last couple of decades, having that awareness, partially because that is what the idea of the Aquarian age is about. When you go into the Aquarian principles, you know, we're all aware of the shift from Pisces, the age of Pisces, into the age of Aquarius, which is the return of the androgyne. You know, it is the hermaphroditic principle. You know, so when you study these things in the ancient cultures, they all knew this, what it was all about, and they all knew it was coming to shift us again. And now we just have to clear our lenses off and view it that way. Just look at, oh yeah, we all know what's going on. You know? So anyway, so that's what I like about this process, is being able to be a part of it, but also step back from it and look at it with a knowing eye. And I also love what you said about the dissolution of time. Anyone who's really observing how malleable time and consciousness really are, you can start to see any of these little subtle changes. I mean, really, that time is irrelevant in many ways. You can travel forwards and backwards in time. Back when I started saying this 15, 20 years ago, people thought I was crazy, like, oh my God, it's nuts, But then you start seeing that appear more and more, these timeline elements in film and video and books and stories, and it's like, now it's just in the dialogue. It's like, maybe it's possible. It is possible.
So, time is moving in now.
It's moving in and out, and we're moving with it. Consciousness can be anywhere, at any time, in any place, because in reality, it's all just in the now, here, right, in the moment. So that's what I find fascinating about all of this, and part of the reason that I'm sitting here with you today.
Thank you.
I love the fact that you're bringing science into discussion. I think that's an important part of introducing these esoteric or quantum philosophies, because there is science that backs it up, and science is one thing that I love hearing, that I heard from a scientist say. He said, the more scientific I become, the more I dig into my why over and over again, the closer I get to realizing that there is God, and that there is something that is beyond us that's so phenomenal that we can actually explain, but it will blow your mind away, because you'll realize that there's magic in the world, and that the world is nothing but magic, and that everything, the vibration of light, is magic. Because when you think about it, everything is made of light. That's what creates a cell. That's what creates DNA. DNA came out of light, and that's how it all